The three most notorious queens in the Bible are few, but their stories have left a significant mark on biblical narrative. In this video, we will share with you the stories of Athaliah, the cunning and ruthless queen, Herodias, entangled in a wicked love triangle, and Jezebel, the seductive, manipulative murderer. These three queens continue to symbolize the dangers of power, abuse of authority, and challenges to faith. From purging prophets to marriages within the family and the imposition of pagan gods, we will delve into the details of these biblical queens and the events that led to their infamous legacies. But before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications to stay up to date with our updates. The three queens featured in this video have distinct yet interconnected stories within the biblical narrative. They are depicted as examples of wrongdoing and transgressions against God. Now, let's explore 10 fascinating facts and details about each queen. We will begin with the story of Athaliah, the cunning queen regent of Judah. Number 1, Athaliah's story is mentioned in 2 books of the Bible. Her character is primarily portrayed within the narratives of other male characters. She is seen as the wife of a king, then a mother to a successor, and eventually a queen regent. The story of Athaliah can be found in the 2nd book of Kings and the 2nd book of Chronicles. Number 2, she was the daughter of kings. Athaliah was born in Samaria, the capital of the kingdom of Israel. She was the daughter of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, who ruled over ancient Israel. However, some sources also suggest that she might have been the daughter of the king and, therefore, the sister of Ahab. Number 3, her marriage was a political convenience. Athaliah became queen through marriage. She was wedded to Jehoram, the king of Judah, in a politically convenient union to consolidate an alliance between the two kingdoms. Jehoram's reign of 8 years was marked by political turmoil and rebellions. To strengthen his position, he ordered the execution of his 6 brothers, eliminating any potential claims to the throne. Number 4, Athaliah promoted the worship of pagan gods, following her mother Jezebel's influence. She did not believe in the one true God but practiced idolatry, particularly the worship of Baal, a deity associated with polytheistic beliefs. Through her marriage to Jehoram, Athaliah convinced him to follow these beliefs. According to biblical accounts, Jehoram was afflicted with a severe intestinal disease as a result of his sins, which eventually led to his death 2 years after falling ill. Number 5, her son's reign was short-lived. The young Joash, also known as Jehoash, ascended to the throne of Judah, at the age of only 7 years after the death of his father. Queen Mother Athaliah served as his advisor and maintained the same religious practices. However, Joash's reign was brief. Just 1 year after assuming power, he was assassinated. Number 6, the punishment of Ahab's dynasty begins. During a state visit to Israel, Joash was murdered by Jehu, an Israelite military commander who was divinely appointed to carry out judgment against the royal lineage of Ahab. The prophet Elisha, successor to Elijah, had instructed one of his disciples to find Jehu and separate him from his military companions. Jehu was anointed and proclaimed as king, while the prophet explained his divine mission, to execute God's judgment on the royal family. Not only did Jehu kill Joash, the king of Judah, but also Jehoram, the son of Ahab and king of Israel. Number 7, Athaliah seizes the throne. Upon learning of her son's assassination, Athaliah decided to do more than just act as regent. She usurped the throne of Judah for herself and eliminated any potential successors by ordering the execution of all the princes in the royal lineage. She even killed her own grandchildren. Number 8, one of her grandsons survived the purge. Amidst the ruthless purge, Princess Jehosheba, the sister of the deceased Joash, managed to save one of the princes, a young child named Joash. He was only a year old at the time. To protect him, Jehoshaphat entrusted the child to the care of the priest Jehoiada, who kept him hidden in the temple for several years. When Joash reached the age of 7, after enduring 6 years under Athaliah's usurped reign, the priest orchestrated a coronation ceremony for the young king within Solomon's temple. The news of this event brought joy to the people, with trumpets and shouts of praise that alerted Athaliah. Number 9, Athaliah's downfall at the hands of temple guards. Athaliah interrupted the coronation ceremony of her grandson, accusing the gathering of treason against her. However, her claims went unheeded. Instead, the priest Jehoiada ordered his captains to seize the usurper and execute her outside the temple stables. The guards captured her, and she was killed while her body was trampled by horses. Number 10, with Athaliah's execution, her dynasty came to an end. Athaliah not only displayed an insatiable thirst for power but also attempted to exterminate the descendants of King David. Her reign of terror led to the annihilation of her extended family in Samaria, Israel. Thus, with her execution, ordered by the priest Jehoiada, the entire royal lineage in Israelite territory came to an end. Now, let's move on to the story of the second wicked queen in this video, Herodias, the adulterous queen who held disdain for John the Baptist. Number 1. Herodias' story, mentioned in 2 books of the Bible. Her life is primarily documented in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, focusing not only on her personal life but also her role in the execution of John the Baptist. Number 2. She was a princess of Judea. Herodias was the daughter of Aristobulus IV, a prince of Judea, and his wife Berenice. Furthermore, she was the granddaughter of Herod the Great. Her story unfolded during the early years of the Roman Empire. Number 3, she married her uncle, Herod the Great, and executed her sons, Alexander and Aristobulus IV. Herodias was given in marriage to her uncle, Herod II, with whom she resided in Judea during the 1st or 2nd centuries AD. From this marriage, they had a daughter named Salome. Number 4, she divorced and then married her brother-in-law. Despite being married, Herodias began an affair with her uncle and brother-in-law, Herod Antipas. She not only fell in love with him but also agreed to marry him, disregarding the fact that he was already married and she was his brother's wife. They divorced their respective spouses and celebrated their own marriage. Beyond love, the union between Herodias and Antipas had its advantages. Antipas was one of the tetrarchs of Galilee, while Herod too held no government position. Additionally, Antipas did not have as direct a lineage to the throne as Herodias did. Both parties benefited from the marriage. Number 5, John the Baptist opposed her second marriage. Divorce was not a common or accepted practice among the Jews of that time, nor is it in Catholicism today. Hence, it comes as no surprise that this second marriage generated widespread disapproval within society. Among those who opposed the union was John the Baptist, who publicly declared that it was not right for Antipas to marry his brother's wife. Number 6, Herodias plotted revenge. John the Baptist's criticism irritated the couple, leading them to order his arrest and imprisonment. However, fearing the popularity and respect accorded to the prophet, they refrained from imposing a harsher punishment. According to the Gospel of Mark, Antipas actually enjoyed listening to the prophet, but Herodias considered the punishment insufficient. The Baptist's words fueled her ideas, and she began plotting a conspiracy for revenge. Number 7, her daughter Salome aided her in the plan. Salome became a crucial ally in Herodias' plot against John the Baptist. Herodias decided to throw a birthday feast in honor of Herod Antipas. As part of the entertainment, she had her daughter Salome dance before the guests. Salome's dance was so seductive that it captivated Antipas. At the end of her performance, he offered Salome any gift she desired in the world. Number 8. Herodias and Salome caused the death of John the Baptist. Herodias had prepared Salome for this momentous occasion, following a conversation between mother and daughter depicted in the Bible. Following her mother's instructions, Salome asked Antipas for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Antipas was torn. On one hand, he did not wish to execute the Baptist, but on the other hand, he had made a public promise and was compelled to honor his word. Reluctantly, Antipas ordered the beheading of John the Baptist, and as requested by Salome, his head was presented on a platter. Number 9. Herodias ended her days in exile. In the year 37 AD, with the rise of Caligula to the Roman Empire's throne, Herodias' brother, Agrippa I, was appointed king over various territories in the east. Herodias had influenced his favor, thereby gaining financial support for her husband, Antipas. However, conflicts arose between Agrippa and Antipas, resulting in the breakdown of their relationship with Herodias. Herodias persuaded Antipas to travel to Rome to demand the title of king from Caligula. However, Agrippa preempted them and accused Antipas of inciting rebellion. Caligula not only stripped Antipas of power but also sentenced him and Herodias to exile. While the emperor offered Herodias the opportunity to return to Judea and live at court, she chose to join her husband in exile and likely died shortly thereafter. It is unknown if she and Antipas had any children together. Number 10. There are doubts about this story. Although the account of John the Baptist's execution has survived for millennia, modern historians have raised doubts about the roles of Herodias and Salome in the narrative. Firstly, during that time, respectable women would not dine with men, let alone dance for their entertainment at a feast. Salome was a princess, and dancing before the king would have tarnished her reputation. It is much more likely that Herodias arranged for John's execution while he was in prison. However, it is far more probable that Herod Antipas and his political motives were responsible for the execution. Now we will conclude with the story of the third wicked queen mentioned in the Bible, Queen Jezebel, who persecuted the prophets. Number 1. Her story is recounted in 2 books of the Bible. The character of Jezebel appears in various passages in the books of Kings in the Old Testament. Number 2. She had a Phoenician origin. Jezebel is portrayed as a Phoenician princess, the daughter of Athaliah, the king of Tyre. At the time of her birth, Phoenicia was at its height as a civilization and held dominance in the ancient world's commercial sphere. The princess was married off to Ahab, the king of Israel, as part of an alliance to protect the border. Number 3. Her father was a priest of another religion. Unlike in Israel, where faith in Yahweh was practiced, the dominant belief in Phoenicia was the worship of Canaanite gods. It was a polytheistic religion with deities like Baal and Asherah. Before becoming king, Ethbaal had served as a priest of Astarte, a goddess whom Jezebel and her kingdom also worshipped. Number 4. Jezebel promoted her beliefs in Israel. Rather than abandoning her religion to adapt to the dominant Yahwistic faith in Israel, Jezebel sought to promote her Canaanite beliefs. She persuaded King Ahab to allow her to promote her faith, even constructing a temple and an altar for the god Baal. This caused a deep division among the Israelite population, forcing them to choose between believing in Yahweh or worshipping the new gods introduced by the queen. By that time, Israel was already deeply divided, split into the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, exacerbating the religious differences. Number 5. Jezebel persecuted the prophets. However, the most severe consequence of the religious division in Israel was Queen Jezebel's decision to persecute all the prophets who continued to promote the belief in Yahweh. She ordered a purge, and the prophets were to be killed. Some survived thanks to Obadiah, a governor in the region who remained faithful to God. He hid 100 prophets in caves and provided them with food to ensure their survival. Number 6, the challenge of the prophet Elijah. The prophet Elijah decided to confront the reign of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. He issued a challenge to prove who the true God was. Elijah gathered the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel and, in front of the people, requested 2 bulls. They cut them up and laid them on the wood. Elijah instructed the prophets of Baal to call upon their God to ignite the fire on the altar. Despite their prayers, songs, and worship that lasted for hours, no response came, and the fire did not ignite. Elijah then placed 12 stones around the bull, poured 4 barrels of water on the wood and the sacrifice, and requested this to be done 3 times until everything was thoroughly soaked. Then, he invoked God, and the fire came down, consuming the wood, the stones, and even the water that filled the trench. The audience fell to their knees, acknowledging the existence of the one true God. According to the Bible, Elijah ordered the execution of all the false prophets. However, Jezebel remained in power, prompting Elijah to flee into the wilderness to hide from the anticipated revenge. Number 7, the death of Naboth. Another negative episode involving Jezebel is the story of Naboth, the owner of a vineyard adjacent to King Ahab's palace. The king desired the land and offered Naboth money to purchase it, intending to turn it into a herb garden. However, Naboth refused, saying, "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my ancestors." This enraged Ahab, and Queen Jezebel devised a scheme to seize the vineyard. She took the king's seal, forged several letters, and issued orders for Naboth's execution, accusing him of blasphemy against God. The orders were carried out, and Naboth was stoned to death. When they came to take possession of the vineyard, the prophet Elijah confronted them, exposing the conspiracy and declaring that dogs would eat Jezebel's remains. Thus, Jezebel's story reveals a queen who promoted her own religious beliefs, persecuted the prophets of Yahweh, and engaged in schemes to seize property. Number 8, Elijah realizes justice will not be served. King Ahab showed remorse for his actions and stripped himself of his wealth to atone for his role in the plot against Naboth. However, the prophet Elijah was informed by God that justice would not be served during Ahab's lifetime. Nevertheless, he was assured that Ahab's descendants would bring an end to his lineage. Number 9, a commander seizes power. 3 years later, during a battle, Ahab was killed, and his son Joram ascended to the throne of Israel. The prophet Elisha, the successor of Elijah, summoned one of the army commanders named Jehu. He anointed Jehu as king and gave him the order to eliminate Joram and the entire royal lineage. Number 10, Jezebel is killed. Jehu carried out the command, first killing Joram. He then arrived at the palace where Jezebel was informed of his presence. The queen dressed in her most elegant attire to remind the commander of her majesty, but none of her tricks worked. Jehu saw her upon arrival and ordered 3 of the queen's servants to throw her out of the window. The 3 servants complied, likely due to the cruel treatment they had received from the queen. Jezebel's body fell to the ground, and Jehu entered the palace to feast. It was only after finishing the meal that he ordered Jezebel's body to be buried. By then, the dogs in the street had already nibbled at the remains. These 3 wicked queens of the Bible have a symbolic role in religious narrative, representing sins and attitudes that women should avoid if they want to pursue goodness. Throughout the centuries, their names have become synonymous with evil, particularly with attitudes rejected in women, such as the thirst for power, the desire for revenge, and the manipulation through sexuality. However, more modern interpretations, particularly from a feminist perspective, seek to analyze the stories of these characters with a less punitive lens. They question, for example, the societal role of women during that time and whether the stories were embellished to further oppress women. It prompts the consideration of whether these infamous queens were unfairly vilified or presented in a negative light. We hope this video has been informative for you. If you have anything to add, please share it with us in the comments section. Give this video a thumbs up and share the link with your family and friends so they can also learn more about the stories of the 3 most wicked women in the Bible. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We'll be back soon with more curiosities from history.